Stephen joins us now, and I'm interested in the decision-making process that led here, which is, here we are, Stephen, going into a weekend. You're going to be around your family, Thanksgiving table, everyone getting together, warm thoughts and memories, and you've picked today for a special entitled "Epstein Didn't Kill Himself."
It's the perfect time. It's the perfect time of year for that.
Well, thank you for having me. I mean, keep in mind that I did my 3 years ago. My very first Christmas special was live waterboarding. Right?
Nice.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So, no, today is for people who don't know, it's actually really more on par with sort of an Evel Knievel, Robbie Knievel stunt, complete with Patriot attire and a jumpsuit. We have created an exact to scale replica of Jeffrey Epstein's cell. So this will be tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. People can watch on the Blaze or youtube.com/Stephen Crowder. And we have Newton scales, both at the point of compression around the neck and on the actual hanging device itself. And I am going to attempt to kill myself the way Jeffrey Epstein did. Now, that being said, I will have a neck brace, but I am so confident that some of the numbers we have been given by the media, for example, the hyoid bone, they say, well, it's easy. It would only take 30 newtons, to break it. I will do that with no neck protection. You will watch me live on air attempt to break my hyoid with the amount of force they recommended, and then as well as trying to get to the 1,200 pounds of force number, which is what they use to administer death by hanging, which still only results in 1 in 20 examples of the kind of fractures we saw with Epstein. So a lot of research has gone into this. We've had an engineer on staff, and right before Thanksgiving, I'm going to try and hang myself in an accurate to scale replica cell of Jeffrey Epstein. So
now,
for the whole family. Now,
unlike the actual incident with Epstein, will your cameras work? Will we be able to? Will we see this happen?
I appreciate your concern, and it's a legitimate question. We do have several security guards on Clinton watch as well.
Good.
Entrances and exits, because the last thing I want is to be conducting a scientific experiment and Rodham comes back and hits me in the back of the head with a mallet like Gallagher. So we're going to make sure that it's a controlled experiment. We have multiple cameras, so hopefully nothing will glitch out. If it does, and, I cease to be, I begin assuming room temperature, I do allow everyone permission to suspect foul play.
Wow. So now, how do you feel, Stephen, if something terrible does happen tonight? How do you feel about us exploiting it for ratings?
I would be disappoined if you didn't, frankly. I mean, come on, I am hanging myself for, really, this is to show the viewer. Here's the thing. I don't know. I really don't know. And I did a lot of training, a lot of neck-specific training, and a diet of nothing but oyster crackers and mushrooms. So I've been taking this diligently. I've been treating it diligently for the last few months. This is to show the audience that, listen, maybe it's possible, maybe it's not. But anyone who's been skeptical has been labeled a conspiracy theorist. We're even borderline not allowed on YouTube. I am so confident that the story we have been given is false that I will be performing half of these stunts without any protection. Then I will put on protection when I get to what the actual numbers are required, to actually hang yourself. Listen, no one is saying that Jeffrey Epstein couldn't have strangled himself. What we are saying is this idea that he fractured 3 bones. We have calculated the force that is required in the exact cell, because keep in mind, he kneeled himself to breaking 3 bones in his neck, right? The reports, he didn't jump from the top of the bed. And also, when it's an 8x8 cell, keep in mind, too, that the torque on that cord, right, there's shear force and torque depending on the angle. It's not like he could drop down that far, because if his feet were completely up against the bed and he's pushing against the bed, he still can't go beyond a gap of about 4.5, 5 feet between the bed and the bars, which would support his weight, because his face would go straight into the bars. So the more that we've been building this set out and conducting some pre-experiments, I don't want to say that Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself, but I'm more convinced than ever that Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself.
It's really interesting, because I think we're in the same place on this, Stephen, in that, I keep looking at this story and thinking, when I think logically, common sense wise, over and over again, I keep coming back to the fact that Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. But on the other hand, it's there's not really evidence there's nothing concrete. Now, you may create some concrete evidence here tonight, but I mean, the medical examiner saying that this is possible. This is what happened. There are explanations, maybe the guards may not have been checking any night. They may just be completely lazy guards that realized they could sleep through that shift whenever they felt like it and nothing was going to happen. There are other competing
Yeah,
explanations.
I don't buy it. I'm sorry, but like you're a logical guy and I'm a logical guy. The most notorious pedophile in the world with the most, the most in-depth, intimate relationships with some of the most powerful people. I find it hard to believe that nobody was checking. And by the way, we will also have a live timer with even Brendan, my youngest producer here. He will be forced to create the rope of bed sheets without any sharp utilities or even edges. So he will be locked in a room, and we will time how long it takes to tie a rope of bed sheets that could adequately hang someone. Because keep in mind, he did that. So it's not like the camera splits out for a few seconds. My guess is it'll take between 10 minutes to half an hour. If it takes 5 minutes, unless the cameras were off the entire time, I mean, you're going to notice a guy. He didn't even have a Swiss Army knife. They've basically nerfed his whole room, and he ties together a rope from bed sheets. And keep in mind, the experiment that we're conducting, right, we conducted some pre-experiments here using cables, so bungee cords. That's a much more direct force on the neck and the trachea and the hyoid. And I understand what you're saying. Medical examiners have said it's possible, but that's why we're trying to examine this in a real-world scenario. For example, the hyoid bone is something people focus on. Well, it couldn't be less relevant because the hyoid bone is the easiest bone to break of the 3 fractures that Jeffrey Epstein sustained. So they say, well, the hyoid only takes 30 pounds of force, 30 newtons. Well, that's in a vice grip, where they take someone's hyoid bone, someone who's dead, they take it off a cadaver, they crush it in a vice grip. I was able to host the show with the amount of force they claim would crush the hyoid bone. I actually did it, and I'll do that tonight to show that the arguments we've heard from medical examiners on the side of it's very easy to kill yourself, that's not true. Now, it doesn't mean that it's not possible, but if I will be live on air talking to you, and this is again at 8 p.m. Eastern, available on the Blaze and on YouTube, I will be talking to you throughout the entire experiment so you can hear the amount of force on my neck. You will leave, I believe, having a lot to think about, and hopefully I won't leave on a stretcher. But it's required a lot of training and a lot of forethought, and a lot of tassels for my jumpsuit. We have fire extinguishers on hand. I will be wearing proper safety gear for my head.
Is there a possibility you could burst into flame?
There is a possibility. There is absolutely a possibility.
Okay.
Keep in mind, I am an untrained professional, so no one should be attempting this at home at all. But we did have some engineers here really kind of crunch the numbers for us, and I'm amazed that nobody else has. There are a couple of stories to me that really don't add up. It's the Epstein story, because if you read what we've read in the New York Times and the Washington Post, right, they just kind of want to dismiss it. And you go, hold on a second, that doesn't add up. And then the other story is the Vegas shooter, just that no one knows anything. Think about that for a second.
Yeah.
What have we heard?
And
Those
it's 2 years
stories
now.
are the ones that stick in my craw.
Yeah, that one's really weird as well. And another addition to this, which I find fascinating, Stephen, is this Amy Robach story, which happened with James O'Keefe, where they released this video, and she comes out and she says, we had this story for 3 years, and all these network, or NBC sat on it, and then they fired this poor woman from CBS who didn't even do anything wrong. I mean, that whole story was so ridiculous. The media has ignored it completely. Conservatives have picked up that part of the story, but one of the things I'm fascinated by is that Amy Robach, a decorated journalist in the mainstream who covered the story for multiple years, also says on this tape that she is 100% convinced that Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself. And that is on the tape, and I have not heard anyone investigate that. You say that people that, they're conspiracy theorists if they believe this. I mean, is Amy Robach a conspiracy theorist? This is this feels, I think, to the American people, not like a crazy conspiracy theory, but like something that actually happened and is being hidden from us.
No, I think you're absolutely right. Here are some things that are undeniable that are not conspiracy theories. Jeffrey Epstein ran a pedophile ring with some of the most powerful people in the world. He had an island dedicated to pedophilia. He had a ranch as well where he had, giant, people can look up these pictures of giant orgy showers and rooms with pillows and crucifixes and life-size crucifixes and no beds, by the way, just pillows and showers. That's absolutely true.
Weird.
He obviously was put on suicide watch at one point. For some reason, was removed from it. He hung himself by kneeling in a cell with a rope from bed sheets that he tied himself with no tools that no guards noticed, and he sustained the kind of injuries that only occur 1 in 20 from dead hang pull-ups, meaning when people are doing, a Brooks and Shawshank, hanging themselves from the beam and kicking the stool out, that only results 1 in 20 of those kinds of hangs result in these 3 fractures. There is no conspiracy about that, and that's what we're going to be testing tonight. Those are facts. Doesn't mean that it's not possible, but this idea that it is the most plausible scenario, or that if someone says, you know what, I don't think that's the most plausible scenario, considering that the Clintons have a higher kill count than a Klan in Call of Duty. That's what this is about. But this is for the people who've all been dismissed. It's so you can visually watch what it is that you suspect, and you can watch it beyond any shadow of a doubt. And keep in mind, again, I am an untrained professional, so there always is the risk that I either spontaneously combust, or I have to speak through one of those, those commercials for esophageal cancer where I'll be hosting a show like this after. I have no idea.